it's great to have you here, certainly. And this is a chance for conversation and questions. And obviously, as the important college search continues for your family, if there's any questions that remain, please do not hesitate to be in touch with us. We're very fortunate to have a colleague like Gib Shea, who himself was a student leader on our campus. One of the great things about Hobart and William Smith since 1972 is the Board of Trustees, the highest governing board of the institution, has on its board 2 elected student representatives. And when Gib was a senior at Hobart and William Smith, he was elected by his peers to serve on the Board of Trustees, a fully vested voting member, seeing every document that any trustee would have. So it says something a lot in the first instance, certainly about Gib and his leadership and the respect he enjoyed from his peers to ascend to that coveted position. But also it says something pretty central about Hobart and William Smith in placing the student very central in our work, in our mission, in how the board, how our faculty, how our staff really think about it. So that's one of the things I'd like to start with just some reflections from my perspective. As Gib said, I have a, I guess, somewhat atypical experience here in that I was here for 18 years and then went to Harvard to the Kennedy School to direct the Institute of Politics and then returned last year. So I've served here as president twice. I joke that that makes me the Grover Cleveland of college presidents, having served twice. But importantly, in addition to those now 20 years of service in this role, during the 5 years that I was back in Massachusetts, our daughter Kathleen came and graduated from Hobart and William Smith in 21, as Gib said. So my perspective is also informed as a parent of a graduate. She totally figured it out to come here when I was not the president, but our experience is one that gives me an informed understanding of the student perspective in her career, her preparation. It's here at Hobart and William Smith, and her ongoing association with Hobart and William Smith. So my frame is from that perspective. And I would say, in the first instance, to all of you as family members and students that are joining us, first, congratulations with your acceptance to Hobart and William Smith. This was a very, very competitive year for applicants. We received more applications than any other year in our history. So the work of the Committee on Admissions was a challenging one and a rigorous one. But with confidence, we can say to everyone admitted that we have reviewed all of the presentations of academic references, personal statements, and the like, to be able to say with our invitation to join our community that we have full confidence in your ability to succeed and thrive here, and importantly, to add to our community in important ways, in the classroom, outside the classroom, in clubs and organizations and athletic teams, and our community service imperative that we have here with the Geneva community. And so, firstly, congratulations. Secondly, this is an important decision, and we're coming towards deadlines complicated by FAFSA and the complications of the Department of Education, which we regret very much. But these conversations and others is an extension of an invitation to continue the conversation, to ask questions to Gib and his colleagues and others that we can make available to you, because it's an important decision of where you'll spend the next 4 years, of what your alma mater will be, and the important preparation that this liberal arts and sciences education affords to our students. So please take advantage of that invitation. It is most sincere in terms of making certain that any question from a curricular perspective, a student life perspective, certainly the financials associated with it, those obviously personal and privileged conversations, but we will make available all the requisite people to answer any questions. A few quick reflections from my seat in this frame, as I said, as a longtime president here, I guess, and from my perspective as a parent. I think this is a place that is really informed by our mission statement, which is to prepare students to lead a life of consequence, giving them worlds of experience during the 4 years that they are here in the classroom, outside the classroom, around the world with our global education commitment, but to prepare them to lead a life of consequence, a life of meaning, a life of purpose. And like any organization, your businesses, clubs, organizations, communities, social groups, churches, a mission really defines so much of what happens organizationally, the resources that are allocated, the priorities that are stated at the very highest level from that board of trustees that Gib served on to my role as president with my senior colleagues and our faculty and staff. And what that means, this life of consequence, is a very different conclusion for each and every one of our students and our graduates, because it's a very personal conclusion as to what one feels and determines as a life of consequence. But what it means here at Hobart and William Smith is during the 4 years our students are here and in residence in Geneva and a member of our community, is that we invite them to think about that question. What's a life of meaning? How do I prepare for that? And what are the things that animate my professional interests? What are the internship experiences that could inform that? Because we have a guaranteed internship. What are the research opportunities that our students have? We'll have 100 students here doing research opportunities that are paid roles with our faculty. So all of those questions, from career services to internships to experiential education, we like to say here to students, you're thinking about your future, and so are we. And we believe very much centrally that our liberal arts and sciences curriculum is the best preparation for the century that our students will live and work in. But we also honor that question as to one's future, what is the preparation for that, and how to think about that. Before this Zoom call, I just came from a meeting where 4 members of our history department had a panel discussion inviting back 4 recent graduates who themselves were history majors, in exploring the kinds of careers that they have lived since leaving Geneva, recent graduates. And I knew all of them when they were students here over the recent years. Some working, one went to Harvard Law School, one went into the Peace Corps, one is completing a PhD at Kent State, the other a graduate from law school and a general counsel, varied careers, but exploring with our faculty a history degree and what that means for their next life, what that means for this life of consequence, as defined in 4 different ways with 4 different careers. So in the first instance, I think that is a big part of who we are, right? Preparing students, asking them to think about that question during their time here, but also having a career services office that was recognized by the Princeton Review as one of the very best in providing experiential opportunities. As I said, a guaranteed internship for students that go through our Pathways program, experiences during the semester breaks in New York and Washington and Los Angeles, where they get to interact with our graduates, or here on campus in this event I just came from with history majors interacting with 4 graduates, exploring their careers and what the preparation of a Hobart and William Smith history degree meant for them. Secondly, I think this is a place that is frequently described as a relationship-rich education. Relationships that our students enjoy with their faculty members, with coaches, with staff, with members of the Geneva community and some of our service work, with our graduates who help them with internships and jobs and conversations. But these relationships formed here in a small residential liberal arts setting with a ratio with our faculty of 10-to-1, with an engagement with the city of Geneva, and our engagement with the community is a very robust one and one that is very integral to their citizenship here on campus, but also very much building a sense of community, because we understand that you come to a place like this to work, to teach, to study as a student for the benefits of a small and informed and cohesive community. And that is how I get to this frame of a relationship rich education. Part of the opportunity to a place like this is to explore the range of differences, perspectives that our students bring from around the country and indeed around the world, to have the opportunity to model conversations across difference, very important conversations, and to model that in these challenged and polarized times. And so that's why, with intention, we have had conversations. Last year, we brought Governor Chris Christie and James Carville together to our campus for a conversation about politics and issues. Or Frank Bruni from the New York Times and Lee Carter from Fox News. Or a Democratic member of Congress and a Republican member of Congress. All of these ways where we can model conversations across difference, respectful of viewpoints, but understanding that to graduate from a liberal arts and sciences institution with a mission to lead a life of consequence, as you might define it, is informed by these experiences in the classroom, as well as outside the classroom and outside of Geneva. And that's the final point, that a big part of a Hobart and William Smith education, and certainly in a Hobart and William Smith experience for our students, is the chance to study abroad. Indeed, 60% of our students spend a semester around the world, in many of those programs led by our faculty. So the consequence of this is that it's a very global, very informed community. The conversations in our classrooms, in our dining rooms, and residence halls are informed by that perspective. Before I came to this position in 1999, I served as director of the Peace Corps. And one of the questions I wondered about moving here is how global, how outwardly facing and looking was the institution. And very quickly I came to understand, thanks to this emphasis in global education, with many of our students studying abroad, many of our faculty leading these programs with our students, is that understanding of the world, understanding of the global economy, understanding of our own multicultural society is imbued in coursework, in conversations, and the approach. So there are many great colleges and universities across the United States, a lot of really fine ways to be educated. This is an institution that we're very proud of, an institution that with our board and faculty and staff, we're very ambitious for our students and for the institution. We just last year celebrated our bicentennial. So we're going into our third century, and this is a milestone that only 50 other colleges and universities have reached. So what's happening at today's Hobart and William Smith with our thinking with our faculty and staff and trustees is that very big question. How do we best prepare our students for the third century of our institution, but for the century that they will live and work in? What is the best preparation, given the sheer velocity of change, the different levels of knowledge and understanding we have, from AI to the whole range of issues? So it's an exciting time to take advantage of a pretty proud history, of a great reputation, of a faculty that's acknowledged in Princeton Review year after year for their commitment to our students, and for the outcomes that we see in our graduates. And I just saw it an hour ago at this panel with history majors and 4 recent graduates. So it's an exciting time on our campus. I wish you all the very best as you navigate the important selection of an institution. Obviously, should your child's decision be to enroll here at Hobart and William Smith, we would welcome them with the invitation that was extended with their admission letter to become a part of this community, because it is very much that. As Gibbs said, returning here after 5 years of being away was a privilege. but it is one that is coming back to a place I've known well, but a place that I've admired for so many years and seen the very good work, the outcomes of our graduates and the contributions they're making. So with that as just a top level frame, I'm happy to engage in any questions. I know Gib is monitoring the chat, may have some questions along the way. And obviously these conversations can continue. My email, we can put that in the chat. It's just gearan@hws.edu. And I'm happy to extend these conversations as you make the important decision.
Thank you, President Gearan. We do have one quick question from Grace in Greenwich, and I think it's a good one. What is your favorite tradition at HWS?
Good question. That's a fun question. I think there's one that says, I think traditions are interesting and fun, and many of them, I think, also reveal a culture. Because my observation is we explain in this way. We are part of a consortium of the New York 6 liberal arts colleges, upstate New York. And so we're in a consortium. I'm chairing it presently. It's Colgate, Hamilton, St. Lawrence, Union, Skidmore, and Hobart and William Smith. We're known as the New York 6. The presidents meet a few times a year, provosts. We have a lot of exchange. We do global education programs with Union. So I know the other 5 institutions very well from years of working with them. And all of the presidents were just here in Geneva a couple months ago. But it's also the case that while we're all upstate New York liberal arts institutions, there is a different culture and feel at each and every one of these institutions. They're all great places. It's not right or wrong, it's just different. And so it's finding that culture. And however culture is made or informed or enhanced, I'm not a sociologist, but I do find it interesting. And many times a tradition can imbue a sense of history and culture and shine a light and represent that culture. To me, one of the great traditions here is on opening day for incoming first-year students and their parents, where I stand in front of Cox Hall, our main administration building, right on the quad, with my wife and greet and welcome all incoming first-year students and their families. And so I stand there for 4 or 5 hours, and it is a wonderful experience for my wife and I, on behalf of our faculty, our staff, our alumni, to have this personal welcome. It is this relationship-rich extension that, because of my role on campus, I'm privileged to extend. And then at that very same spot 4 years later, we shake hands again, and that is where our graduates receive their diploma. So in the arc of 4 years, at the very same spot of beginning and end, marks this moment on our quad in front of Cox Hall. And it has been my privilege for many years to greet students and to award them their diploma. And at a small place like this, we have the good fortune, Gib and I and our colleagues, to know many, many students. My wife and I host an open house every Friday at 5 o'clock. So any Friday during the semester that you're in Geneva, please feel free to stop by. And so we get to know students quite regularly. And I would say I can remember many students on that first day, intimidated, anxious, concerned about their journey, and then to see the frequently transformational education of this liberal arts and sciences preparation, informed by a sense of community, informed by that internship, that job experience, perhaps global education, member of our athletics teams or some of the 90 clubs or organizations that are here. You see that bookend of time. You see the experiences that are marked by it. So to me, it's a tradition, but it says something pretty significant about Hobart and William Smith. It says a lot about that relationship building and that relationship-rich education. It says a lot about what the emphasis and the importance we place on thinking about your next steps and chapters in a life of consequence. And it's imbued in the beauty of the quad in a pretty special place. So That would be one of many traditions. And as you can imagine, for a place that's going into its third century, we have many fun and interesting traditions that take advantage of our heritage, that take advantage of the lake. I suspect there are student traditions that I'm unaware of, not having been a graduate, that offline Gib could be more informed by. But jumping into the lake is a wonderful tradition that our students enjoy. I have not joined them for that, as you can appreciate.
President Gearan's referring to commencement morning at around 5:30. Pretty much the entire senior class will go down to the dock, to the boathouse for one last sunrise and to really just be with each other one last time before we all go and shake hands with President Gearan for the second time at commencement.
I live right across the street, Gib, so I can hear it, but I've yet to navigate down there to
And it's
join.
a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. And I know I'm already talking about graduation with you guys. You guys haven't even gotten here yet, but definitely something to look forward to as well.
Right.
One more question we have in the chat, definitely an important one. With all the stressors on small liberal arts colleges, including some closures, would you be able to comment on the financial stability of Hobart and William Smith?
Yeah, it's a great question. No, I think these are challenging times in higher education. There's no question. Both the financing of higher education, private higher education, for some who will question the merits of it. But I think our work, the ladder of opportunity, we know statistically what a college education means financially and intellectually and socially for all of us. And so the merits of it, I think, in many ways have never been more important. But navigating the cross pressures of financing and positioning and the questioning of it is a challenge for every private institution. I would say for us, we are very grateful to have 200 years of history, 200 years of support from a very loyal and generous alumni base. That's one of the reasons we have $70 million and 60 plus almost $70 million in financial aid support, the resources and the appointments of buildings that allow for that. So part of my work and responsibility obviously is to secure the resources, particularly for financial aid and the spaces for our students. And to remove as many of the obstacles as we can to this great education, providing access to students. So in a few weeks, we'll be providing an important announcement of our capital campaign, which is the major fundraising effort that's been accelerated. And people are very much excited to join in with a vision for the future, with a vision for our third century that places the student experience and the academic experience very much central, very much within a liberal arts and sciences context. So our future is a bright one, thanks to the support, because the question went to the financing, and the generosity of alums. And so you'll be hearing more about that in the coming weeks, actually, as we launch an important effort.
So we did have one more question pop up in the chat. Feel free to add more if you have any on your mind. What intentional support systems are available for incoming first-year students to adapt to the HWS community?
A great question. I would say that it's significant, many. It is quite intentional. And, part of this relationship rich starts with the entire matriculation. For so many schools, I'm sure you've had friends and family and associates, it can be frequently a drop off between the high touch and engagement of admissions and folks like Gibb and his colleagues to attending and matriculating in class selection. That is very much not the case here. It is quite intentional with both our academic affairs division and student life division working quite in concert with a faculty member who will serve as a first-year seminar instructor, with a dean, academic dean, who will be working with students in the incoming class, and with our campus life colleagues, whose design of a week-long orientation allows students a chance to get to know one another, to get to know campus, to begin the process of acclimating to college. Long before they arrive, there are conversations with a first-year seminar instructor who's a member of our faculty, who is the incoming first-year student's advisor, along with a dean. So there is a surround sound here, a surround web of support to each and every student here. We want our students to thrive and to be tested and pushed so they will excel, but we want to make sure there is also a safety net to catch any of students who, for understandable, legitimate reasons, need the kind of support. Building out our Center for Teaching and Learning, building out our wellness opportunities, building out the counseling and mental health support that is all a part of any contemporary student engagement. So there is a team, very dedicated team, to a holistic approach of academic, social, orientation work before they arrive here in Geneva, and then that critical first week, so that by the time they start class, they would have met with their faculty advisor, they would have had an engagement in the first year seminar, they would have understood the campus, engaged in community service together, and built the kind of relationships that will start them to be a successful student. And then ongoing, having that first year seminar, which is a small group of 12 to 15 students, with a faculty member as their advisor, with a dean who's assigned to that first year seminar, working with them on their academic progress. So this is a place that has the kind of scale and opportunity to really make sure that every student is afforded the opportunities to take advantage of this remarkable place.
And one of the other things I think about when I think about the first year experience is that it does not start when you walk onto campus for a week-long orientation. It starts the summer going into your first year. So you'll fill out some academic preference paperwork, and then you get an email or a phone call from your academic advisor, who's also your first year seminar professor. And they may ask you questions like, let's say you want to take Introduction to Psychology. Great, have at it, fantastic. There are like 3 or 4 professors that may teach Intro to Psych in one fall semester. One can be more hands-on, one can be more lecture style, one can be more discussion-based. So they're able to pair you more with the professor that teaches more towards your learning style. We're small enough that we're sort of able to customize your schedule in that regard, but big enough that you still have all those opportunities available to you. Fun question. What are the winters like in Geneva? I can speak to that also, and do students stay in the summertime?
Yeah, well, at the second, yes, students love to stay in the summer. As I said, we have a great part of the opportunity here is a guaranteed internship or research opportunity, as I mentioned. And 100 students will be here during the summer doing research, not in the sciences, social sciences, humanities, with a member of our faculty. So it's a real research opportunity, funded opportunity for students, and of course, enjoying the beauty of the Finger Lakes and of Geneva. The winters, I mean, candidly, it's the Northeast. I grew up in Massachusetts. It reminds me of Boston, Massachusetts. It's where I was the past 5 years. It's funny because I think nearby communities like Buffalo and Syracuse, those on the lakes, get a lot more snow than we do. So frequently I'll get calls from friends in Washington or Boston when they see reports of communities along the Great Lakes. But it is beautiful. Seneca Lake is a deep lake, 600 feet, so it doesn't freeze. So there's a majesty to that. And candidly, and I guess with some concern, we've had very little snow this year. So it has been a pleasant winter, but the seasons are beautiful for me. Fall, especially, and spring looms. So it's good preparation.
Yeah, the snow and the cold, which does get cold, it does not stop HWS students from, one, going to class. You live on campus, you are in class no matter what. And also really doesn't stop us from having fun. We're not the type of campus that hibernates all winter long. I think that's an important point to hear.
Yeah, I think to embrace it. I think that's fair. Yeah. Yep.
President Gearan, can you expand on how the New York Six Consortium affects students?
Yeah, it's a good question because I wouldn't want to, this isn't a consortium like in Western Mass or in Worcester or others where they're contiguous in a city to be able to go from one campus to the other to take a class. You can't drive to Skidmore to take a class. I mean, so it's not that kind of consortium. It is funded with the Mellon Foundation. So there's an awful lot of exchange with faculty, with staff colleagues. So all of the chief information officers are meeting to talk about the impact of AI. All of the presidents, as I mentioned, will meet to discuss shared topics of interest. The provosts are meeting at the end of the month to talk about curricular matters, the student life. There's a lot of shared opportunities because we're all similarly situated liberal arts and sciences institutions. Union, as I said, we have worked for many years together on global education. So it is a lot of shared best practices and coordination. And so from the student experience is informed by all of that, but it is not a curricular consortium as you might imagine. Broadly, there's different leagues and depending on sports contests, but we're frequently in competition with several of those schools. And obviously, we just come off the Division III national championship win for our Hobart hockey team. This is the second year in the row where we've been national champions. Last week, we were in Hartford, where we beat Trinity College 2-0. So that is, there's still a glow on campus, I would say, Gib, from the hockey team, who are impressive athletes, and we have a superb coach. So that's been a lot of fun.
There's certainly no shortage of school spirit in that regard.
Yeah.
Mr. Coyne, it sounds like he was a part of the history talk that you were referring to earlier today, and noticed that a lot of the students went on to graduate school or law school. Can you expand or comment on job opportunities for economics or management students for jobs right after college?
Yeah, I would say that's a significant amount that look to New York, look to finance broadly. Our management and entrepreneurship major is taken off in significant ways. We have had an entrepreneurial studies minor for several years. It is our largest minor by enrollment in a very good faculty, along with our economics faculty. Part of our career services effort is to provide those experiences for students who might come to it, understanding the opportunities and careers in finance, or those who want to learn more. And in both cases, we provide a track for students during the break in January for several days in New York City, meeting with many of our alums or families associated with Hobart and William Smith to share their perspective and to engage with students. So there's the workshopping of ideas and backgrounds that we have, the experiences that our students gain in the classroom or through our leadership center, we just completed our pitch competition, which is a Shark Tank-like competition of down to 4 finalists, and the winner gets $10,000 to put their entrepreneurial idea into action. There were probably, I don't know, 400 or 500 students at that event. So there's a lot of ways in the classroom and outside the classroom, particularly with our alums and graduates and families who share their professional opportunities and career advice with students. And that is preparation for the world of work initially, largely, eventually then with master's degrees, MBAs, and related fields. But our placements are quite good. Many of our graduates go to New York, many more increasingly to Boston, particularly in and around the financial services industries in both cities, but truly nationally as well.
It's absolutely. And the pitch, Shark Tank for HWS students, is probably one of the most well-attended events of the year because it really is, it's just a lot of fun. It's really fun to hear those ideas and watch them come to fruition. President Gearan, when it comes to majors, particularly making your own major, are there any limitations in regard to the individual major program at HWS?
No, I mean, it's just securing the kind of ideas and background and working with faculty members to do that. I met with a very excited student recently who is very drawn to robotics. Started a robotics club here. He's a dazzlingly smart young man. So worked with our computer science faculty, our physics faculty, and math faculty, and created his own special concentration on robotic science, which is not a stated major here, but he was able to put that together to his satisfaction. So yeah, there's great, I think, receptivity on the part of our faculty who see the talents and promise of our students. It speaks to the kind of faculty here, candidly. This is a faculty that really has wanted to come to teach at Hobart and William Smith because they want to teach and engage with students. They take their scholarship very seriously. They're credential scholar quoted. We have a colleague in international relations that I was with at a lecture last night whose book on Yemen is frequently now quoted in the New York Times and NPR. So their own scholarship is very well regarded. But there's no question one cannot be tenured without demonstrating excellence in teaching. That is the standard of this institution. Their scholarship is prized and very important as well, and their service to the community. But with that standard comes an ethos, comes this culture that I can be probably most helpful to you in reflecting back my perspective on, because it comes then a very, not just a willingness, a receptivity and excitement on the part of our faculty to work with students who have a passion academically, and in the case of an independent major and a created major, to really work with them to afford that and affect that. And this student I just ran into this week was quite excited about his major being approved.
That's fantastic. Can I open the room for any other questions from the audience? Feel free to unmute yourself or throw it in the chat.
And as I said, it's Gearan at HWS. So if there are any questions or confidential matters that you'd like to pose to us, please don't hesitate to do so. This is an important time, and we want to make sure you have all the information available to you.
Agreed. I think our last question of the night is, can you expand more on the types of community engagement that HWS students take on locally and in the region?
Right. Well, it gets back to our mission statement, I would say, and it's part of this interrogation that we invite our students to think about what is a meaningful life, a consequential life, a purposeful life. And part of it is to welcome students from that handshake to Hobart and William Smith. And then the next morning, we're back on the quad and going into community service projects in Geneva. Because right from the start, we signal you are a member of the Hobart and William Smith community, but also the Geneva community, who for 200 years has been a wonderful host to students who come to the shores of Seneca Lake from around the world. So in respect, in gratitude, and in collaboration with Geneva, we work in community service activities, from orientation to days of service. This April, we will celebrate the 30th anniversary of a day of service. This has been a part of Hobart and William Smith's culture for decades, giving back to the community. Ongoing service opportunities, from community lunch programs to the Boys and Girls Club. Many of the not-for-profits afford our students an opportunity to work in significant ways as tutor corps that we have started with the Geneva school system and the Boys and Girls Club. Students serve on the board of directors of the Boys and Girls Club, leadership opportunities. In the classroom, they can look at not-for-profit management courses and thinking about that in our management and entrepreneurship efforts. So it is an ethic. I think it's a value, and it is part of the culture here, that our engagement with the community is real. It is with gratitude, but it's also preparing students for their own citizenship. Most students won't live in Geneva, New York upon graduation. Many will not live in a small city, but they will, we hope, take the lessons of citizenship, of giving back, and of thinking about ways they can make a difference when they leave here and during the arc of their lifetime, in their professions, in their communities, in their churches or businesses and associations that will prepare them. So we think it's a fundamental part of this formative part of their lives. And it's exciting to see our students take on that. Sports teams regularly. Our basketball team was just engaged with the Geneva Public Library, assisting them. Volunteering in the community lunch program. Individual clubs are doing it. And there's a range of other groups. Tomorrow night, we will have our African Model Union is hosting a UNICEF fundraiser for the Congo. It's a place of active students thinking about challenges in the world internationally, thinking about active issues domestically. And here in Geneva, the scale is such that we can have access to key people, access to the issues that define so much of the national agenda, but are here in micro. So our ability to make a difference, and as a learning matter, coming out of serving as director of the Peace Corps, I'm particularly aware of the opportunity for students to see that many of these issues we can make a difference at. It is not intractable. And we've shown that with our program. We have Geneva 2030, it's called, working with the school systems to help our students. And they have moved the needle on very key metrics in the Geneva school system. So it gives hope, it gives direction, it gives an experience for our students. And we're modeling, we hope, the kind of engagement and civic engagement that will make for a better citizen and make for a better country if we have that collective impact.
Thank you, President Gearan. That does conclude the questions that we do have from our chat tonight.
Well, this was fun. Thank you all so much, Gib. Great job moderating.
It's always a lot of fun. Feel free to email me or your counselor anytime with any questions about academics, admissions, student life, what we do for fun at HWS. That is literally what we are here for. Thank you all. You enjoy your nights.
Thank you all.
Thanks very much.